With a federal class action lawsuit settlement now in effect, the process begins to reform Oregon's foster care system. The court proceedings played out over the course of 4 years, with millions of dollars in legal fees paid by the state of Oregon to private lawyers, according to public records. But ODHS leaders say they're ready to welcome the outside help to make changes. April Flint Gerner is the ODHS Child Welfare Director.
I want people to feel our intent, which is that children are safer, that families and communities are better supported, and that when there's a problem, we get to work and we address it.
April Flint Gerner has served as ODHS Child Welfare Director for about a year and served as interim director a year before that. She has also served in a deputy director role at ODHS aimed at improving the training of child welfare staff. Flint Gerner says in addition to working with the neutral expert to make changes, she's committed to fixing the quality of training and support ODHS staff receive so children they serve aren't left behind.
And so we've got to go beyond just training our staff. We also have to really work at creating a learning organization. There are mistakes that are going to be made, but are we learning from them? Are we getting better from them?
Whitney Rogers is the program director for Oregon Foster Youth Connection, an advocacy group made up of current and former foster youth aimed at working with state lawmakers and ODHS to improve foster care. Rogers also gave testimony in the final day of the settlement hearing in federal court. Her story, one of many highlighted in court proceedings, alleged poor living conditions and abuse in foster care.
In total, outside of my mother's home and kinship placements, I was in 36 different homes, residentials. At first, I enjoyed the difference. I believed the only way to get away from abuse and trauma was to run.
Rogers was in foster care for several years as a teenager. Now in her 20s, she describes those years as chaotic and tumultuous, sometimes being placed in residential facilities where she claims to have been overly medicated by doctors and nurses. And when she was in regular foster homes, she says oftentimes if she witnessed or experienced abuse from foster parents, it meant being moved to a new home with no consequences for the alleged offenders.
But when I did see people step outside that line, I hoped for a system that was supposed to protect children to come and rectify, right? And that's not the case. They need service providers. How can you prove that happened? You're delinquent youth. The response to them, to us reporting, was everyone was moved. And I didn't get all my stuff.
Our previous reporting found a trend of abuse and neglect allegations by foster children against foster parents being ruled unfounded by state investigators nearly all the time. ODHS data we obtained spanning several years from 2019 through 2023 shows 2,415 DHS investigations into alleged abuse and neglect by foster parents toward their foster children. Of all those investigations, over 88% of those allegations were determined to be unfounded and just about 12% determined to be founded. Child safety is a key issue being addressed in the federal class action settlement. With that in mind, we asked April Flint Gerner about our findings in light of the settlement in federal court.
Are you planning on making any changes to how these kinds of investigations are conducted?
Ultimately, we want kids to experience safety in foster care. If the whole reason that they've come to our attention is that they weren't experiencing safety at home, we've got 90% of what's getting called in not being substantiated as child abuse. Well, that doesn't mean something didn't happen. My hope is that we have lots of doors and pathways where young people can talk about the things that they're experiencing, and even if it doesn't rise to the statutory definition of child abuse, that they feel that the adults around them are responding.
Flint Gerner also says an important step in addressing child safety within ODHS is involving more Oregonians who have experienced foster care. She feels more community involvement from the state to the local level of ODHS will have the greatest impact as the agency works to improve the foster care system moving forward.
What is your message to current and former foster youth in Oregon now that this settlement has finalized?
I appreciate every single one of you who have lifted up your stories, and even the ones that I have not heard from. None of us get in this work to do more harm to you, and you deserve better. And it shouldn't have to take a class action lawsuit for us to commit to doing better.
And for Whitney Rogers, she says she remains skeptical about the impact of the settlement, but she says she's motivated to be a part of the push for change.
Yeah, the settlement gives me no hope on paper, but seeing how mad everyone was about it, that gave me hope. And I hope that anger translates into physically showing up to your meetings, your legislative meetings.